Cheers, guys. Welcome back. Today, we're going to be talking about Robert Greene's 34th law and the laws of power. Act like a king and get treated like one. And I'm going to talk about this. This is paralleled with the ideas in transurfing, Vadim Zeland's transurfing, that the chosen ones, the ones that seem to be selected, chosen, whatever you want to call, they choose themselves. And, the person that comes to mind when we think about this too is, like for me, at least personally, is Elon Musk. Elon Musk, just to give you the background, he was part of the team that developed PayPal, right? We all know what PayPal is. And I believe at the time sold it for like $150 million or something. Like that was his chunk that he took home. In combination with the other people that were working on it that created it. But at that point in time, $150 million, yeah, that sounds good, right? That sounds like a lot of money to a lot of people. But right after that, he was like, I'm going to start an entire car company. I'm going to compete with Volkswagen. I'm going to compete with like all these other established car companies. Not only that, but we're going to completely revamp the way that these cars are being done. We're going to start electric vehicles, start this production line, compete with these big mega corporations that have been in existence for centuries already. And then on top of that, we're also going to start sending rockets off into space, right? He's also got Boring Company. He's got all kinds of stuff. And now, he's bought Twitter and, it seems to be that guy, there's nothing that can stop him, right? He's like an unstoppable force of nature. And the thing to key into with this is that, yeah, so $150 million, right? That sounds good, right? But most people that are even considering entering into any literal space of space exploration or the space of automotive, developing an entire car company, you need like billions and billions of dollars of capital. Most people wouldn't even consider getting into that business, right? Secure the ability to secure that. But by him presenting it wasn't like, hey, I want to make electric cars. It was like the whole presentation of Tesla was, we're going to change the world. We're going to, cut down on the carbon footprint. We're going to change the automotive industry forever. This is going to be the future. And he got, because of his conviction and his belief in himself, he's been able to do a lot of the things that he does. And it's not to discount his intelligence, right? The guy is he's a genius in my opinion. But I would say that more than half of that, the majority of his success it's not just his intelligence. He could have been as intelligent, but without that self-belief, without that conviction in his belief in himself, he wouldn't be where he is today. So, this chapter in Robert Greene's book, Act Like a King, there's a line that says, do not wait for coronation. The greatest emperors crown themselves. And that's what Vadim Zeland talks about when he talks about that stars choose themselves. And then pendulums, which are these energetic things, cross-reference the book. The book is basically, pendulums are things thought forms that gather force through the culture, through various kind of like collective consciousness, right? And the pendulums have no choice but to light them up. And so the stock price of Tesla went up almost purely because of Musk's self-belief. When he does something, everybody pays attention. When he bought Bitcoin, everybody pays attention. Tesla is one of those companies, they don't do any advertisements at all. He's essentially like the mascot or like the face of Tesla, right? And so I guess, the main point of this is like, do you have the ability to cultivate this belief? And that's what we talk about when we engage in these practices of redirecting our mental thought, our mental narrative is to reclaim and decide that we are taking charge. We're not allowing an external environment, anybody to tell us no. There's a lot of people, that told him no. There's a lot of people when Jeff Bezos was starting Amazon and working in his garage, and there's photos of him like kind of just chugging away daily. They didn't believe in it, right? They're like, what are you doing? Selling books online? This is never gonna work. And look at where Amazon is today. Look at where Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, look at what they've done. So what I'm saying is there's a caveat to this, right? And that is you don't want to be completely delusional either. You don't want to just go into the mirror, proclaim that you are this king of everything, and not be taking the action, not be actually embodying the traits and walking the walk, right? You don't want to just kind of lie to yourself in this diluted manner. You also have to take action. That's what we've been talking about on the channel too. And again, people want to disagree with me on this. You feel free to. I'm going to present what makes sense to me and what works for me in my life. And I have examples. I have examples of, how it's worked in my life. I shared one in a recent video. But the point with this, if you look at Elon, if you look at Bezos, they took a lot of action up until their goal. And that's part of the life that we're here, is embodying it. Embodying it means to be, do, and have, right? And so the doing aspect of that, essentially what we want to do is that mental trap that people get caught into, and it's very paradoxical, right? There's so many paradoxes in it. So much of this is being able to accept two truths at once. Because on one hand, yeah, you say, oh, well, I can just, envision this. On the other hand, you're like, you don't want to feel like you're completely lying to yourself. So it can be helpful to take things in a step-by-step manner. And Vadim Zeland talks about this in Transurfing as well, that like imagining the progress, the same way that an artist imagines their masterpiece coming together, or the same way that a mother encourages her child to walk, right? As the child is learning how to do this. You're imagining that process. You're imagining the incremental progress that you're getting to, right? We don't want to just psych ourselves out sometimes by saying, oh yeah, I'm gonna have this multi-million dollar company or something. Or I'm gonna be, overnight success, the most famous, top of the charts rock star, right? Whatever the case, you in a lot of cases, you can hold that vision, but it also is helpful to imagine and the process along the way. Divide it up into smaller chunks and imagine what that looks like, what that looks like. So again, this is maybe counterintuitive or contradictory to some advice that maybe like Neville would give or somebody else, but this is just another way of looking at this, and another food for thought. That yes, you can do both. You can imagine the end goal, and you can also imagine the steps that you're taking to get there, because the steps that you're taking to get there are going to be what reinforces that belief. As human beings, sometimes we need that enforcement of that belief. That's why we get so inspired when we see like the birds before land, or we see confirmation. It's because, and then when we tune into that, when we use them as thought markers, what Vadim Zeland calls thought markers, we check in with ourselves, say, yes, look, I am on my path. This is all a sign that these things are working out for me. And we can even do that sometimes when things look like they're falling apart. He says when reality is falling apart, that is because it's cleansing itself. It's making way for that new path that you're going on. So all these different ways of looking at things, but doing a mirror practice, like I talked about in Claude Bristol's the mirror technique in the magical believing, that's a really, really great way to begin instilling this with your affirmation practice. When you're looking yourself in the mirror, you're telling yourself, look, I can do this. I am this version of myself. I am becoming this day by day, step by step. I am embodying this, whether it's losing the weight, whether it is making the money, whether it is having this situation. And so with that being said, guys, you got to crown yourself in this reality. When you begin to play that role, and that's what Tufti, the priestess, they talk about in modeling and all this. And again, Tony Robbins talks about this, like enter the state. Tony Robbins talks about states too. He's harps on it all day long. He says, get into state, get into the state that when you have that conviction, that enthusiasm, it's contagious. So with that being said, guys, much love as always. Drop this with a like, hit me with a subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next video.